Hey guys, John here from etrailer.com. Today we're going to take a look at the Erickson Ladder Rack on our 2019 Ram 2500. A ladder rack is a great way to get some larger cargo to our destination, whether it's loading up a ladder like this to get to our job site, or maybe a kayak or a canoe, something that's not going to fit in our bed quite right. Or maybe we just need to utilize our entire truck bed for other cargo, and something like this will help get some extra cargo up above our bed. Our ladder rack has an 800-pound weight capacity and also has an aluminum construction. So it is nice and sturdy for that weight capacity, but the aluminum construction means we don't have to worry about rust or anything like that. It's going to be able to hold up to the elements really well. A lot of the steel options, they have a coat on them that helps to resist weather, but aluminum just naturally resists weather. We have 4 load stops on the ladder rack, and they're easily adjustable with these knobs. We just loosen it up. Now we can slide it along the rack wherever we need it to be for our certain load. So our uprights here is 29 inches tall, which gives us plenty of clearance from our cargo to our truck cab. We don't have to worry about anything coming in contact with it. Now, I would like to point out, normally we want to try to get our front crossbar system closer to the cab, just because it means if we need something to overhang, it's overhanging over our cab and not behind our vehicle. However, in this instance, this truck has a drop-in bed liner, and so there's some parts up here at the front that we're just getting in the way of the clamping system for this ladder rack. Now that we've gone over some of the features, let's hop over to the garage and see how it's installed. To begin our install, I recommend grabbing your instructions, opening it up, and just seeing what goes together. There is a lot of hardware that comes in this kit. We've got nuts and washers and lock washers, and so I recommend taking that and just laying it all out, counting it, make sure you got it there, and then organizing it, which makes it a lot easier to get everything installed a lot quicker later down the road. The first part of assembly that we're going to do is grab our crossbars. We're going to install our load stops. So these have one side that has 3 holes. These 2 holes line up with this sliding bracket here. We're going to take our M8 bolts and our corresponding lock nuts. We'll feed this through the load stop. Then just start to thread them on. There's a total of 4 of these, 4 of the load stops. And so we'll have 2 on the front bar, 2 on the rear bar. So this is, I recommend just starting off, just putting all these on, less hardware you have to mess with, less parts that are going to be lying around. And once we have all of our nuts tightened down, snugged down, go ahead and repeat that same process for the other 3 load stops. The next step, once we have our load stops installed, we'll turn the crossbar over. We'll loosen this hand knob here, and we'll slide our load stops more towards the middle, because next we're going to be installing the legs onto the bottom of the crossbars. Our crossbars already have these bolts installed, so there's 2 on this side, 2 on the other side, and that's where we're going to attach our legs. When we go to install the legs, make sure that you install 2 different ones on a crossbar, and you don't accidentally grab the same one for one crossbar, otherwise it won't fit. We'll take this bracket at the top, and we will fit the bolts through. Now we'll grab our M10 hardware, and what this is our washer, then our locking washer, then our lock nut. We'll just get that started. Don't tighten anything down until we get our hardware started first. We'll grab our socket, start to tighten this hardware down. Don't tighten it down too much though, because we're still going to need to be able to move the leg alongside the bar for when we put it up in the truck bed. Repeat this same process for the other side of this crossbar. With the hardware for our legs loosely installed, now we'll lift up the crossbar system and put it in our bed. Make sure you have a tape measure handy, because we're going to measure the ends of our crossbars to make sure it's spaced evenly when we put it in our bed. You might find it a little easier to have an extra set of hands to help you get this installed. Just get it sitting right here. We'll kind of tighten up this hardware just to make sure that it's sitting properly. There we go. So we measured our crossbar. And we're going to tighten this up a little bit. I still wouldn't tighten it up completely just yet, just in case we need to change anything while we're installing the hardware for our legs. With everything loosely in place, we'll now grab these brackets that look like a J and the M12 hardware. And this flat part of the bracket is going to act like a clamp. So we'll slide the bolt through up here. And then, once again, we'll take a washer, then a lock washer, and then the nut. We'll start threading the nut on. If you have trouble getting it started, like you get it started and it kind of sticks, go ahead and just grab a ratchet. Start tightening that down. And again, we just kind of want to get this snug, not necessarily tightened down just yet, because we're also going to make sure that we have our bases, the base of our legs, positioned at the same location on either side of our vehicle. So we'll get this tightened down just enough so that we know this isn't going anywhere. And I would like to note that on the underside of your bed system, there, like this, it has this cover installed on the bed rails and has a drop-in liner, so you might need to look under here just to see where you can actually fit these. If you're having trouble getting just the position right, just because there's some little pieces under here that you're gonna have to work around. And once we get this snug down, repeat the same process for the other side. There isn't an exact art to measuring, so just pick a point that you can easily measure from. So for this instance, I'm taking the rear stake pocket, and measured on that side, get the same measurement on this side for the base. We'll tighten down this hardware. And once we get this tightened down, then we can move back up top and snug down the crossbar hardware. Be sure that when you're snugging down this hardware, that you make sure this kind of base looking bracket, it's sitting as flush up to that rail as possible, because these aren't exactly rigid, and they're nice and sturdy and tight. That's where we get the 800 pound weight capacity from. But there is a little bit of movement in them, just how the system's set up. But as long as you make sure that this base part sits up flush against the crossbar, you're good to go. Now that we've got everything installed, we're ready to load up some cargo and hit the road. But that's going to complete our look at the Erickson Ladder Rack on our 2019 Ram 2500. Thanks for watching.